Good morning. It's 48 and 24. We are rocking towards the end. We've got 4 videos left to do, and so we're doing it right now. I've got with me the wonderful Stephanie Warnhoff from TechSmith. Stephanie, welcome.
Hello.
So to let people that are watching know, tell us a little bit about what you do at TechSmith, and because we've been asking everyone, how long have you been at TechSmith?
So I have been here for almost 4 years now. I started in the summer of 2010, and I am currently the market research analyst here. So
what does that mean?
Yeah, right. That's the very lead up is, what the heck is that? So I sit in the marketing department and work with the marketing team mostly, but what I do is basically I get asked business questions. Should we change the price of this? How would customers feel about that? Feature changes, repositioning changes, maybe things we want to change on our website, words we're using, visuals you're using, and it is my responsibility to find the customers to talk to, or maybe the non-customers, depending on the project. Ask them through surveys, focus groups, interviews, whatever the method is, those questions, try and find the answer, and then present that back to the stakeholders who ever asked for it. So.
Very cool. So we've talked, so I don't know how much you've seen of the last 24 hours, but we've talked with a lot about kind of the theme is how we get feedback, and a lot of that's been, people going out, collecting things, asking us for coming in. So this is a very different, because we're actually very outbound towards a lot of different people that maybe we wouldn't ever get a chance to talk with.
Absolutely. So we focus, I try and focus our projects maybe 50% on customers that are either in the trial of Snagit or Camtasia, or are, what we call paying customers of our software. And then 50% of the time, I like to focus on people who either have never heard of TechSmith, maybe aren't using screen capture, maybe are using screen capture, screen recording, and maybe using a competitor. Because at least in my opinion, and to a lot of others here too, it's just as important to talk to those people who aren't already in our web to find out what they think, to maybe, convert them to potential customers, or just to see kind of where the market is going. So yeah, it's very outbound.
Very cool. And so what we're going to talk about today is and actually we've got to give credit to Casey Wright, who couldn't make it this morning. You guys worked on a project that I think is really important because we've learned a lot, working about how viewer consumption, right? And that, I could be saying anything right now. I don't know if it makes sense. So.
It's quite all right. So I guess we did this project sometime last year. It's blurring together now, of course. But the main goals of the project were to try and find out what our customers' thought of videos.
So for your guys that are making videos, what the people watching your videos think.
Right, absolutely. And what would make them more engaged, what would make them more interactive, what would make them like the video better, want to hear more from you as a content creator, etc. So what we did was focus on 3 different types of videos. We did informational, instructional, and then entertainment. And Casey and I sent out basically a huge survey to non-customers, which we use a third party to find, people who are not using our software, and find out a lot of questions about the length of time they prefer to watch videos, what time of day do they watch them, what do they like to see in videos, what helps keep them engaged and entertained, how they interact with them. It was a very long survey. And with the amount of people that we surveyed, we had a mix of multiple choice questions and a lot of open-ended, please describe a scenario where, et cetera, et cetera. It took us a really long time to analyze a lot of that data, but I think we got some really, really good feedback that we are still using, in materials. We have an infographic that our design team helped us make. We kind of reference it around here a lot. So I think it's been really helpful. And we're trying to share that with our customers so that they know how to make better videos, better images.
So how many people are, let's kind of establish boundaries. How many people were in the study? So it's kind of size.
1,976 people completed our survey.
That's a good amount.
It's a good amount for sure. And I think there were about 40 questions, which is very long, and we knew that going in, and we incentivized them appropriately. But I would say there were probably 20 multiple choice to select an answer, and there were probably almost 20 open-ended responses. So if you want to think about that, every one of these people completed the survey. So 1,900 people times 20 open-ended questions is how much we had to analyze those.
Wow.
Yeah,
I can't even do I could do the math anyways, but it hurts thinking about the number.
Yeah, so we have Casey and I, 2 full-time employees, and we also had an intern during that period who helped us a lot. But we basically did not work on anything else for It took us about 2 months, which is a long time, but it's important to us to kind of not outsource this information, at least to Casey and I for sure. It's important for us to make sure that we are the ones doing the analysis so that maybe 6 months to a year later when someone asks the question, we know the answer just like that. We are as familiar with it, and so that we can portray it correctly going forward and not have to ask a research firm to answer a question for us. So and it's fun for us. Obviously, it's our job. So
absolutely. So I'm guessing in there's some takeaways, some things that if you were a creator of video, you're going to want to know. What were some of the things that I guess you were able to shed light on?
Sure. So a couple things that I want to focus on, at least just to tell our audience here, is about the length of videos.
We just heard some things about length, so.
Right, good, that's perfect then. So I had a graph to show this, but it's more hassle than it's worth to get it pulled up. But basically, the entertainment, people who watched entertainment videos were the kind of the bulk of our responses there. I'd say about half of those were entertainment, and then the other half was split between instructional and informational. So entertainment, we found that people really preferred their videos to be either very short, and I'm calling very short like less than 3 minutes. It was somewhere in the 1 to 2 minute range, or very long, which is the 1 hour to 2 hour range, which we have some assumptions based on the rest of the data in the survey that those are people watching movies, even though sometimes in instructions for a survey we say, please don't think about X. For instance, when we said, please don't think about movies, sometimes people go through and do that. But entertainment, I'd say very, very short or very, very long. And in the middle there, instructional, informational, which I think is what a lot of people are using our products to do, you have quite a wider range, I would consider. So the bars kind of fell that people really preferred those videos to be somewhere between 5 and 30 minutes long for both of those instructional, informational categories. So you certainly have more time to work with in terms of trying to educate people or get your point across there, rather than, oh, you got a minute, if you didn't get it, they're going to click away. So that was definitely something that came out of that. Like you have more time and a little more to work with there in the middle.
And I think we've heard that time and time again as we've talked to different guests, is that no one said, oh, only make a 3 minute video. It was a phrase, make the right size video.
Absolutely. And it definitely depends on what your goal is of the video, what type of video you're creating. I mean, Casey and I will say, even from the study, there's no blanket range. It doesn't work like, sure, 3 to 5 minutes is going to be perfect for every audience, every type of video. You have to adjust. And I know that's hard for people who might be starting out and saying, I just want to know how long to make it, but it depends, right? It's a bad answer, but it's true.
Right, and context is everything.
Yep, absolutely.
So what else came out of this study that you think was valuable for our viewers to pick up on?
A couple other things that came out were the ways that people were interacting with videos. And we had definitely some high points. This was a very long multiple choice, so like what are the ways you've interacted with the last video you've watched. There were things like I've liked it, Facebook like with the thumbs up, clicked on suggested or related content, shared that, etc. And I'd say some of the most popular things there were the comments for sure, commenting on a video, likes, and then clicking on suggested or related content. And in that, I try to think outside myself a little bit as a researcher, but as soon as that came in, and that was a really, high bar when we made the graph, I thought, I know exactly how that happens. You're on YouTube, you're watching this video, and then that sidebar comes up and you click it and you're like, oh, that looks interesting, and you just fall down and 45 minutes flies away. And so I was not surprised to see that on there, but I think that really helps our audience, at least the creators of videos and other materials, of course, but to have those options available on your videos if it's possible. If you want to put it on Facebook so people can like it, or a hosting site where people can comment, you can really get a lot more interaction than just watching it and leaving. And then the last thing I just wanted to highlight about the study is that ways to make videos kind of a little bit more engaging. We talked a lot about, and people talked a lot about in videos, humor, which is something I know might be difficult or a little bit scary to overcome. How do I know if I'm being funny or I'm just being cheesy, myself?
Or you're just tired and everything's funny because you've been up for a long time.
That's exactly right. So humor is, we don't mean, in the context of the study, people didn't mean like, I'm going to crack a joke in my video. It's more, nuances or puns or things that relate to your video, or more of a humorous style, not so dry and monotone. Use some music we talked about a little bit, and of course we talked about this after the study was finished too. Like music depends also. That does not work for every style, and it does not work for every goal and every audience, but that's something that if you're willing to try, it helps keep people engaged and something to listen to if you're not talking at a point or things like that.
Well, I think the humor, and I was at so I went to a conference and I presented some of the data,
Right.
and one of the gentlemen there, he has done lots with video with the BBC. It works with large multinational organizations, and he was really keen to pick up on the humor part, and because his point was not he didn't care about humor, but what people don't want is really dull videos.
Right.
They don't want to be bored to tears in their video. They want something that's going to give them the information that they want, and whether it makes them laugh or not, I think is irrelevant. It's about not sitting there thinking, "Oh my goodness, how do I suffer through this video or whatever it might be." They want the knowledge that they need, the time that they need it, and they want it to not suck. I mean, right? They want it to be like, "Welcome to this video. You're going to." I mean, imagine that. You can't, and you don't want to. You're not going to stick with that video. So, I think, maybe you're not funny because humor is so hard and it's cultural. And we talked to another guy. I don't know when it was, like 4 a.m. to 3:30, and he was in England and talking about his team in the UK, or that they work with in San Francisco. And Betsy was bringing up using a Geordie accent from the UK, from Newcastle, and that he's like, we tried it, no one got it in San Francisco because what's a Geordie accent, So anyway.
Yeah, well, more of a humorous style. We definitely talked about that afterwards, like, more upbeat, or, it doesn't have to be like so many animations, it's whizzing and going by, but just something to make your video definitely more engaging and definitely less boring, less dull, because that will cause people to bolt immediately, whatever your topic is.
Yep, absolutely. Stephanie, I've got one more question for you, and we're going to wrap with the recording. Please stay. We'd like to continue the conversation. As you think about the study, and I know you mentioned you get to know it so well because you go through it, and you look back on all the potential things that could have come out of it, was there anything that you just thought, like just blew you, like, whoa, really? You never would have guessed as a researcher that the results are like, I could kind of guess, like, hey, don't make boring videos. That seems pretty, at least hindsight seems obvious, but.
Yeah, and Casey and I talked about that a lot. Like, a lot of the graphs, when we started putting together kind of a presentation to present to people, like, oh, when we look at this, it looks like common sense. And a lot of times in research, some of the things we're doing is either trying to validate, or we've already been talking to our customers about, don't make boring videos. The length depends. Like, those are things that people probably know, but you really sometimes need data and backing to show that. And rather than just coming from one person's mouth, or even just from a company, this research wasn't necessarily 100% non-biased, but we definitely didn't survey all our own customers to find out this information. And, Casey and I try and be very impartial to what we're doing. But gosh, the most surprising thing, I would say the most surprising thing is, I talked about a little bit, is the very clear distinction between the length people prefer the videos to be. I kind of thought, okay, people who are watching entertainment videos will be game for any length, right? If it's entertaining and they want to watch it, they don't really care if it's 2 minutes, 15 minutes, 45 minutes, or 2 hours, but that was not true at all. It was definitely a very short period of time and a very long period of time, and everything else fell in the middle. The graph is like a perfect V, where instruction and informational is on top and the entertainment is on the bottom. I was really surprised. Like, that was probably the most clear thing that came out through the entire study, which I was surprised that even was that clear. I have my assumptions going into it, but it's kind of hit or miss. I don't know everything, so I was really surprised that people could hang with instructional informational for such a long period of time between those 5 to 30, 45 minutes, and everything else just basically hit the outskirts.
So maybe a couple of people like 24 hours worth of videos. It's not long at all. So Stephanie, we really appreciate you coming in. We're going to wrap this up. If you have questions, go check out the blog. I know we got some research. We published some stuff out there. You can find the infographic. I don't know, is there any place we've done anything else with it?
Not really publicly. A lot of our research we just use for our own consumption, but this is, I think, our first kind of foray into public research. So.
Absolutely. I know if you're going to STC in May, I have a presentation. Come to you and we'll talk a little bit more about some of the things that we found. So thanks for watching and tuning in. We've got a couple more to go, but we'll be back with more 48 and 24.